welcome to another episode of our series. It's the third episode of the Success Beyond the Classroom series. Yes, in this series, I have been sharing nuggets with parents on how we can help our children excel in the classroom, meaning in school, as well as in every other area of their lives. My name is Mary Beth Chima, and I am the founder of the Parenting Through Mentorship Academy and PTM Resources. I am the proud matron of the Children's Mastermind Circle, a peer mentorship or a mentorship and accountability group where we support children, give them we guide them, and of course we hold them accountable. We point young children to the role that they play in their own lives so that they can take the front stage or the lead in their lives and start taking baby steps towards self-direction, self-leadership, and working in their purpose already, even right from when they're about 5 years old. So, yes, the mentorship program is for 5 to 10-year-olds. So, we say it is a solid foundation ground where children learn the foundation to a lot of things: personal development, mentorship, leadership, and more. All right, in this series, as I said, I am sharing nuggets with parents. And today, episode 3, we are going to be talking about the power of habits, how small or little habits build big futures. Yes, that's what we're going to be talking about. How the little habits that our children learn today can lead to them building a solid future, or them living their lives in a way that is powerful as they grow older. All right, so habits are little things that when children do consistently form their character and, of course, their convictions. It is habits that shape who our children become eventually. So look at yourself, dear parents. I mean, look at us. Who we are today is a function of some of the small habits that we learned growing up. Those little things that we did consistently became the character that we exhibited as adults. So if we're going to raise children in today's world who will become successful in the classroom and outside the classroom, who will become successful whether they are in school or whether they are or wherever else they find themselves in life, then we have to start helping them cultivate the right habits, positive habits today that will build up who they become in the future. Good habits lead to stability, discipline, and of course, it helps us to raise children who are stable and secure. Yes, when we help children to develop the right habits, we help them to become secure in themselves. We help them to become people who are confident in the things that they can do, right? The children do not second guess themselves, because these are habits that they have practiced over and over again, and they know the outcomes that their habits lead to. You know how you say, I know that I know that I know with exactitude that when I do this consistently, this is the result that I've gotten over the years. And yes, it's the same result that I will get if I do these things like this. It is with consistency and with constant practice that you can get to that point where you are confident about your outcome. So if our children are not applying this habit, or we are not teaching them this sort of habits, then we will raise children who are not disciplined in the first place. Okay, bad habits will always lead to chaos. They will also lead to rebellion, right? And of course, they lead to resentment, because with all of that chaos and all of the when our children turn into little rebels in our house, of course, it will mean that we will discipline them negatively, or we will have all of these conflicts back and forth and all of the chaos in our home. Eventually, that leads to resentment, from us as parents or from the children in most cases. So today, as we have done in episode 1 and 2, let's look at 5 things that parents need to understand today, or that we can start putting in place today, in order for us to raise children who can excel, whether in school or wherever else they find themselves. What kind of habits can we help our children begin to inculcate, or what kind of habits can we inculcate in our children, or what kind of habits do we introduce our children to today that will help them succeed in today, in their everyday life, help them succeed in school, and help them excel even as they grow older. All right, what do we need to know? Dear parents, it's important that we know and that we make the children know that the habits that they exhibit, habits will shape their identity. Your child's habits would shape their identity. What your child does daily is what forms their character. What they do daily is what forms what they are becoming. What we do daily is how we got where we are today. So it is important that we look and we become more intentional about the things or the habits that our children practice every day. For instance, if we get our children to practice reading daily for 15 minutes, what you're doing is not just raising a child who would study to pass exams. You're raising a child who will cultivate habits or cultivate the love for reading as a habit. You're raising a child who sees reading as a default, reading as something that is a part of their life or part of their lifestyle. So when we introduce habits like that are productive, what we're doing is we're raising children who will be productive. I remember when our children when our children were younger, what we were doing with them was we had a reading practice. We call it stop and read. So stop and read, used to happen at at 8 p.m. in our home when the children were younger. Right. And that was a time where we were very intentional about helping them cultivate a natural love, helping them cultivate a love for reading, where they can take books and read for leisure, not because they want to prove any point or they want to pass an exam or they want to be given a prize or anything, just because they love to read, they want to read, and they enjoy reading. So how did we help them cultivate this? We picked that time, 8 o'clock, when we are done with everything that we have to do. And so at 8 p.m. every day, everybody in our house picks a book. Even back then, when I used to have domestic staff, right? A domestic help at home, right? She picks a book too. Whether you know what you are reading or you don't know what you are reading, that is your problem, right? I know how many of the people who came to stay with us started to read books just because of that practice that we had. So at 8 o'clock, you pick a book, nothing formal. You just pick a book and you get a spot. It's usually in the living room. So you pick a book and you get or take your spot. So you see them come with their teddy bear, someone just lies on the carpet, another person on the couch, and all of that, and you read by yourself to yourself. So you read to yourself, right, from 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. All right, so that time was reserved for everyone to practice reading, right? And it was such a good practice that, all my kids, all our children read, like love to read. Like all our children love to read, not because they're asked to read or they're forced to read. They love to read. In fact, if you want to know that our daughter, she's 10 years old now, if you want to know that our daughter is winding down for the day, you will see her with a book in her hand. A lot of times she will walk to you even at 10 and ask you to read her a bedtime story. So reading can be cultivated just as any other habit that we want to see our children practice consistently, right? I remember I was at a conference, it was TIP conference, and I remember it was I can't remember, no, it was Favor Siri, yes, man, she was the one that talked about how she got her children to start having quiet time, right? And they had that specific time also where everybody just went like quiet and you just had a quiet time, like you study the Bible on your own and then you had that quiet time to yourself. So yes, you must create systems around this habit, right? So we create, as we said at the beginning, They are small routines. You make these things a part of the routine in your home, and the word is consistency. Consistency is the magic word. All right. So you don't just create the routines, you make sure or you ensure that you are consistent or you follow through consistently if you want to raise children who are stable, if you want to raise children who are secure, if you want to raise children who are disciplined, if you want to raise children who have self-control, you have to create boundaries and create a system in your home that will aid the children to cultivate these things as a habit. The moment the children get to that point where they begin to honor routines on their own without you having to micromanage them, they are on their way to self-discipline and self-control. They are on their way to self-leadership. And these things that we're talking about right here are some of the advantages that we give to our children as parents who choose to be intentional. All right. So I think we've rested on these for enough time. Let's move to number two. Number two, why do we need these routines in our homes? Or why do we need to create these habits through routines? Habits or routines reduces stress on your children, right? Routine will reduce stress in our children. Do you know what it means to have to take instruction after instruction after instruction? Sometimes it becomes overwhelming. Now, imagine that you are in a home where you have your spouse, daddy, mommy, then you have probably two or three older siblings. I'm